for the most part. Guys who are good with girls tend to be losers. It's a very strange thing, and it flies in the face of a lot of advice out there in the dating field, at least in the red pill sector. Get really rich, focus on your paper and the girls will come, blah, blah, blah. That's a very traditional way of looking at things. Most of history is filled with guys getting power and getting money, and then you get the girls, right? That's the thought process of most of history. It's not something revolutionary, but it's wrong. But unfortunately, people believe it because there tends to be a correlation between being really successful and having a lot of women come after you. But it's not actually what you want for a lot of reasons. But this video is going to more focus on the skills that a loser has and why guys who are losers do draw women to them sexually and romantically. So this is geared towards people who are maybe not losers, but you probably should learn something from losers. So the basic gist of it is that guys who spend their time sitting around, playing video games, hanging out, talking to people, going to parties, funnily enough, they're good communicators because they spend most of their time communicating. Because they're not super disciplined and grinding and waking up at 6 a.m., stereotypical motivational video shit, right? They're hanging out, they're partying, they're getting to know people. And they probably do that from a young age. So they get very trained, right? So all of the things that you have to think about consciously, reading social cues, reading body language, getting to know how to correlate this body language and vocal tonality with what she's feeling, and then how should you react to that. He's already got a shit ton of practice doing that. And from a very young age, it was imprinted into him, right? That's why you meet these guys and it kind of feels like they're just natural born lady killers. That's not true, right? They were molded. But you're seeing the end product, or, at least the very late stage product. And so they've developed a subconscious mastery, right? And they just kind of intuitively feel their way through things. They know what's cringe and what's not cringe. They know how to be funny, how to read the room, how to adapt to different people's personalities and energies, how to hold a conversation, how to have small talk, right? That's a big problem with guys who take themselves too seriously and are kind of high achievers is, their life is serious. There are high stakes. They're being driven by this need to, succeed. And a lot of it actually is deep down, a lot of insecurity and fear. And so there's a lot of negative energy that seeps out of people who are a bit too, take themselves too seriously. They're very rigid. It's just not fun to be around those people, right? But it is fun to be around chill, relaxed people who are they're just cool, right? They're just fun to talk to. You shoot the shit. You don't feel like they're judging you. They're funny. It doesn't feel like you're competing with them or they're looking down on you, right? And so that personality, that energy itself is also just entertaining to be around or enjoyable to be around. So not only do they have the social skills, right? They actually know the how to and what to do. They've also, because of their training and also because of their personality structure, are just cool to be around. Whereas someone who is more focused on being successful, not only have they not trained those muscles to a point where it's smooth and just natural, they also have a personality that is kind of difficult to be around. They can be too intense. They can be very judgmental. They're very set in their ways. It can also make you feel insecure, right? It's just a byproduct of being successful. When other people are around you, they might just feel like, okay, they don't have your money, they don't have your status, they don't have your success, right? Whereas someone who is, just kind of whatever, but he's really charming and cool, you might feel a bit more comfortable being around him. And that's going to extend to women as well, right? Again, you kind of have this idea of that's kind of been propagated through history that, be super successful and you're going to get the girls. But really, while there are a lot of traits that are that are attractive about being successful, and of course the money and the status is attractive. Anyone who says otherwise is wrong. But there are also a bit of negatives that come with it, and it is that kind of overly intense energy, which can be somewhat magnetic if it's done in the right way. And there are people who are the exceptions, who are really cool and charismatic and also super successful, but they're the exceptions, right? I'm talking about most people. Most people are going to fall into either extreme. And the problem with that really intense person is that while on the surface they may have the things that you think women want, really what women want is the guy, right? The things that you've accomplished are extensions of yourself, and so those can be, you can feel gravitated towards them. But women, for the most part, when it comes to sex and romance, they are attracted to the man himself, right? So while you may be successful and kind of you draw people around you, once people actually get into your bubble, if you have this overly intense energy and you're kind of weird and you don't have these social skills or this kind of comforting aura that just relaxed people do, you're going to repel women, right? But this guy who is just purely riding on his charisma, women are going to be attracted to him for him. And also, strangely enough, when you are the really successful guy, you're going to have something called being boyfriend zoned, right? Women are going to see that you kind of can provide that nest part of a relationship, because women do obviously crave that stability, and you're gonna have that. But because you don't also really attract them on a personal sexual level, it's almost like a half friend zone kind of thing, right? So there's the friend zone, there's the boyfriend zone, and then there's like on the other extreme, there's fuckboy zone, right? The ideal place you want to be is kind of halfway between a boyfriend zone and a fuckboy zone. Because there are problems with getting fuckboy zoned, right? Women might treat you like a piece of meat, which sounds awesome in a lot of ways, and it is, and it's fun during its time. But when you do want something serious, you might have some women not think you're that caliber, or you're built for that. Kind of like if you fuck a girl who you only think is good for sex, but not, she wouldn't make a good wife, you're not going to see her as a potential girlfriend. Girls will also see fuckboys the same way, right? He's fun to have sex with, but like, you're not looking for anything serious, which again can be fun, but also maybe counterintuitive if you are looking for something serious. But when you're the super successful guy, you have all the things I've talked about. Plus, girls are going to boyfriend zone you because you provide the nest, but you're not really attracting them on that like primal pussy level. And so they're going to be like, all right, I'm going to take it slow with him, and I'm going to like wait for something serious. Now, the unfortunate part about that is not the intention. The intention is pure, right? I want to take it serious with someone. But unfortunately, reality is counterintuitive to that. The slower you take things and the more kind of overly careful you are with it, it clashes with that natural desire to just kind of dive into a whirlwind romance where you're just like really passionate about each other. And unfortunately, she's going to feel that on a subconscious level. Like consciously, she's going to like be like, oh my God, he's such a catch and this and that. But there's actually going to be something kind of, I cut my finger, by the way, with a razor. Very small cut, but very painful and very bloody. What the fuck? Did I just lose what the fuck I was going to say? God damn it. Me and my like ADHD. Okay, wait. Someone left a comment on a video and they said, I'm going to test it. And they said, when you forget what you were talking about. Okay. I was talking about fuckboy zone and boyfriend zone, right? And being in the middle. Oh, got it. Hey, man. Thanks for the tip. And then I'm going to get lost again. Shit. I actually just did. No. Okay. Consciously, they're going to be like thinking you're a catch, right? But then subconsciously, there's going to be this like knowingness that you don't excite them, right? Whereas in an ideal world, right, you are both really sexually exciting and you're also like future, like, oh, he's going to make a good husband, a good father, a nest egg, he's going to provide for the family kind of shit, right? You kind of want best of both worlds. But, no one's perfect, right? But you'd want to push towards that, right? So if you're kind of like this successful guy, all the things I've already said, plus girls might be boyfriend zoning you. They're going to, they're not going to see you as that sexy guy. But it's not an independent thing. Like, it's happening because of your personality. Like, you're being boyfriend zoned partly because women aren't, like, women should feel like they have to resist the urge to hook up with you. Like, oh my God, I really want to fuck him. Oh my God, he's so hot. Da, da, da. Like, she should feel like she's fighting herself, right? Because you're just so attractive. But what's interesting is the fuckboy, she may not see him as a long-term prospect, but she is attracted to him sexually, and so she might hook up with him. Or maybe she doesn't, but she's still attracted to him on that level, which is what you want, right? You want someone who is attracted to you on a sexual level. Because good relationships are friendships, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, and husband, right? Romantic, and then they're sexual. You need all three for it to succeed. If any one of these are missing, it's an incomplete relationship. But I would have to say that of the three, the sexual is actually the most important, because it is literally the sole reason why it is the unique reason why you're hooking up with each other, right? You love your friend, right? And you're friends with your friend, but you're not lovers with your buddy. Like, the one thing keeping you from marrying each other is the fact you're not sexually attracted to each other. But a girl and a guy for a girl, the one extra thing on top of the friendship and like the loving each other is that also they want to have sex with each other, right? So now you have a three-dimensional relationship. And the thing about losers who are cool and charismatic and fun to be around, well, they create an environment that's very conducive to feeling sexual. When you're this really intense, there's guys who can pull it off. For the most part, guys who are like super successful and serious, they're just like overly serious and like they're not fun to be around. Whereas a guy who's cool, he's like touching her and having, like, she feels relaxed. She forgets about her job. She forgets about the stresses of life. She's just hanging out, having fun, da da da. She's purely attracted to him as a man and as a person, not a future father, not a this. She's just thinking about hanging out with a hot guy and sucking dick. And he creates that environment, not only because of his social skills, but also because of the traits that a guy who just hangs out with people, goes to bars, drinks a little bit, smokes some weed. I'm not saying you have to do those things, right? But I'm just stereotypically, right? Let's say he's a totally sober, non-partying guy, but he's just a guy who just like doesn't take life too seriously. He just hangs out with people, has a nice time, go to lunch, do this. He does his job, comes home, plays some video games. He's going to be really comfortable to be around. And comfort is a very, very strong, like, bridge to sexual attraction. It's very hard to feel sexual attraction when you're tense. There needs to be some tenseness, right? Because that's what sexual tension is. But that's happening not because the person's fucking weird and awkward or overly serious. It's happening because you're attracted. And so you're like, oh, you get nervous because of the attraction, not because they're, insert X negative quality. So there's a lot of things happening when you are not a loser, right? You're a successful guy or just a normal guy, right? You get up in the morning, you go to work, but you don't really have any like fun to you, no charisma, no spark, right? So it's a lack of skills, it's a lack of aura, energy, and because of those things, you're getting put in a box, and once you're in a box, it's really hard to get out of a box because most people tend to immediately make judgments, and then it's very, very hard to kill first impressions. So you need to start taking a page out of the loser's book, right? You need to start practicing social skills, right? So it means hanging out with people, not just talking to girls, but hanging out with people and getting social skills, right? Social skills are the majority or half of seduction skills, right? But then you also need seduction skills, very specific set of learning how to read women's body language, right? When they're attracted, when they're not attracted, when they're, kind of lukewarm, what how women subcommunicate interest or disinterest. So you're reading their body, you're reading their face, you're reading their words, their tonality, and get comfortable with that, because women do communicate differently with men. It's a lot of sub-communication and indirect communication. And if you're not used to it by hanging out with specifically women that you are going after romantically and sexually, and there are those stakes on the line, and you're seeing how they're, reacting to you in real time, if you're only just used to hanging out with guys, you're not going to have that other half, that seduction skills, right? But you also need the social skills. And usually guys who are successful, they spend all their time fucking studying in school or grinding and starting a business or whatever, and they didn't put time to the social stuff, right? They made a sacrifice in order to get a positive. Just like the other guy, he didn't want to work. He just enjoys life, right? He wanted to go to parties, talk to girls, blah, blah, blah. He sacrificed a successful career and money or whatever and financial stability, but he did get something in return, right? So you need to go in the other direction, right? And you need to be willing to have a malleable personality. Right now, if your response to it as, no, I'm a hard worker, okay, that's fine. Like, totally cool. You don't have to take my advice, right? But there's going to be consequences. You're not going to be that attractive. You're not going to be that fun to be around. Now, in an ideal world, people feel like, oh, I'm just going to find the person that's for me, right? In my experience, that's not true either, right? There are people out there who obviously you have more chemistry with because you have things that align, or you just happen to be each other's physical type. But while it's a good foundation and it makes it easier, it isn't a catch-all solution. Having an initial strong attraction is not enough. It'll take you a little bit further than, someone who you're just like okay with, right? But it'll eventually sputter out. You'll lose gas if you don't also have the ability to like maintain attraction through flirting, right? Doing that dance, knowing how to give women the experience that they want, having a man around with masculine energy and knowing how to make her feel feminine, right? Knowing how to be sexual, right? Knowing how to flirt, how to be sexy, how to fuck her good. And if you don't have practice, how the fuck are you going to do any of that, right? So thinking that you're just going to like find someone who you have good chemistry with and it's just all going to flow perfectly, this is naive. This is stupid. This is the same thing as someone saying, you know what, I'm going to start my first business and I'm going to be rich within a year. It's the same fucking thing, right? Or I start a business and I'll be successful in 10 years. Not necessarily. There's probably tons of people who have business for decades and they still fucking suck at it. Or they're very middle of the road because they didn't adapt. They didn't learn the skills, Or maybe they did make money, but they're horrible at managing it, right? Or they're great at managing it, but horrible at making it. There's all sorts of ways things can go wrong or right, but you need to practice. So you need to start hanging out with people more. You need to start spending time around girls. But you also, that's the skill part, you also need to actually change your personality traits to a certain extent. And like I said, no one's forcing you to do this. I'm not saying you have to betray your values, but there are consequences to every road you take because every road means you didn't go down this road. Okay? So while you've trained this like successful muscle, you need to like lay that off for a little bit and train your social muscles, right? And that's going to sometimes cause this to maybe go down a little bit, right? And you need to accept that. But it's not going to go down to here, right? It's only going to go down here. But your social skills are here, and then you're going to be able to, kind of bring them up. And then once you reach a certain level you're happy with, you focus on, your finances or your profession or whatever, and you do that. Again, in an ideal world, would it be amazing if we could just focus on everything and be the best at everything always? Yeah, that would be awesome. But that's not how life works, right? So for me, I focused on my social skills for the beginning, since I was 18. I was like, this is something I want to learn how to do because I suck at it. I had a few maybe talents, a few things that I kind of had going for me. I was really good at feeling people's emotions, like really, really intuitive sense. But I didn't know how to trust it. So I had to test things, be like, is this really how they're feeling? So I have to test it. I need to react like this or act like this and see their reaction. and then kind of fine tune my emotional radar, and then learn how to distinguish between my emotions and the other person's emotions, because they sometimes kind of, it's like radio frequencies. I'd confuse if it's their emotions or my emotions, right? And I had to learn how to adapt to that and master it. And I had some other things going for me, but for the most part, I was pretty fucking weird. And I still am weird, right? But I've learned how to mold that weirdness into an attractive weirdness. Not to everyone, right? No one can be universally attractive to anyone. Everyone. It's impossible, right? But you can definitely be a lot better than you are, right? So you're going to have to start practicing this, and also changing your personality a bit. Because even if you practice these social skills, there are guys, like even guys who are teachers who like have channels and teach guys. They may have like the numbers, like, oh, I've fucked 300 girls or whatever, right? But if you actually meet them, they're a little bit off. Like, they've got the skills, but they never got that X factor. They never got that vibe. They never got the energy, because they didn't go within themselves and find the traits that's, or maybe they're negative, right? Because if anything's off-putting, it is a negative, right? You can put a veneer over the negative, or like I said, kind of transmute it, but there are some traits that you kind of just have to like change, or know when to express them, right? Because people always see videos like this. They're like, I'm not going to change who I am, and da-da-da. That's a really deep discussion, and I don't really feel like getting into it in this video, because it'll just like change the dynamic of the video. I'm not asking you to betray yourself, but I am asking for you to experiment and see how much your personality can stretch for the sake of achieving the goals that you want to achieve. It's the same thing. It would be like saying, I'm a lazy guy, but I want to be successful. And then me saying, yeah, I don't want to work. I'm not going to betray who I am just to get success. Right? So if you put it that way, then you might be like, oh yeah, that's kind of stupid. It's like a stupid framework. Like, I am who I am, which is lazy. It's like, well, that sounds like a good trait to fucking change. If it's betraying yourself, I guess it's a good betrayal, right? It is a positive thing to betray yourself on. So some of your traits that you may identify as positive, and they may have pushed you, they're probably negatives. You're over rigidity. You're way too fucking serious about things that aren't serious. You try too hard to show how smart you are, because that was the one thing you had going for you, because you were a fucking loser, right? In a different sense, in the like not socially acceptable loser, right? This is the loser who is socially cool, but like just like not successful in a lot of other ways in life. Which, however, ironically, guys who are maybe not the most studious or smart or talented or whatever, they tend to sometimes get medium levels of success and even really high levels of success because of their social skills. It's a very sad, like, kind of like the social guy wins in the end most times story, because most jobs or fields involve other people. And if you don't have social skills, you're going to end up alienating or pissing off or just not connecting with people. And even if you're better at whatever it is, programming, art, it could be fucking anything. But because you're not fun to be around and people don't like you, you're not going to be allowed or offered opportunities that the guy who maybe is less skilled than you, but he's more socially skilled than you, he'll actually get invited to those environments and meet the right people, which will then open doors. And it really sucks to hear that, but it's true, right? So that might be another level of motivation for you to get social skills, because it actually will help your professional life as well as your romantic life, right? So you need to stop being one-dimensional is my thesis, right? You need to be multi-dimensional. You need to be more of a generalist, for all the reasons that I've probably over-explained by now. So, yeah. Let's see. Is there anything I didn't cover? Usually at this point, I start repeating myself. So I'm catching. See, I'm still learning too. Catching myself, and I'm like, all right, you don't want to over-explain yourself because then you'll kind of just annoy people. But then you want to explain yourself enough so that you're not misunderstood. And also, repeating things does have a pedagogical, fancy word. It means teaching. Pedagogy is, theory or praxis of teaching. It does have a pedagogical effect, right? It teaches you good. It takes ideas and fucks it into your brain better. But you have to find that good balance. So anyways, I'm stopping myself at what I think is a good balance. I think I've covered the idea enough, covered enough nuances and exceptions. Someone will misunderstand it. There will be a comment. There was a comment on a different video. Fucking hilarious. This is funny. I had a 1 minute and 20 second video or something like that, which is incredibly short if you've watched my videos. It's the one I just previously put out to this one. So find this video on my list and then go to the one before it. And it was like, it's just about talking less. And so I advise people to talk less, and that'll make you more charismatic. And so I made a joke. I was like, I should take my own advice. And so I am going to. So I made a short video. And someone left a comment. I was like so infuriated because their comment would have been covered in a longer video because I would cover nuances and exceptions and more explanations, right? But because I chose to speak less, it maybe was more digestible to someone who just wants a quick little lesson, but you can't please everyone. There's going to be someone who, because you didn't say it, they're going to be like, well, this and then this. And as a person with, like, whatever you want to call it, fucking OCD, just perfectionist, like, it made me go, but I would have explained it if it was a longer video. And the gist of it was like, well, why should you focus on being charismatic when you can just be more verbose and articulate and get your point across? And then, of course, I respond, well, just talking a lot doesn't necessarily mean that someone's going to get the message, because talking too much can actually piss people off, like I might be doing right now. So there isn't, in communication, there is no perfect solution, whether it's talking too much or talking too little. You got to do your best to find that just right Goldilocks kind of area. And also, with regards to the subject of this video, tying it back, like I said, it's going to be very hard to find that perfect balance between focusing on, your life and then also focusing on just, being social, which is also going to involve just like having fun and being cool to be around and being enjoyable to be around. Because if you have a stick up your ass, you're not fun to be around. But at the same time, if you're just the guy who fucks around all the time, you're not going to be successful, which is going to come with a whole other host of problems, right? But if you are looking for social and sexual success, you want to have friends and you want a hot girlfriend who really likes you and loves you, the most important thing is your social skills. I can have a successful relationship with minimum money and minimum success and status simply because I can be fun to be around and I fuck really good and I know how to communicate. The success can add to that, right? But it is by far a less important quality. But unfortunately, the people who need to hear the message the most are stuck on this side, right? So I am imploring you and begging you, if you have reached a level of success that you are happy with for the moment, you don't have to give up forever, but you are going to have to change your focus. If you want to have the dating life and relationship life and social life that you want, you will have to change focus. You will. It's going to take some sacrifices, but it'll be worth it, because I know, for the most part, 95+% of you watching this, you want a hot girlfriend who's going to make you happy and have a healthy, happy relationship. But you're going to need the skills and the vibe to do it. So get to practicing. Watch more of my videos. Buy my fucking course. Buy my fucking book in the description. And if you can afford it, which you might be able to because you're successful, sign up for coaching one-on-one with me. It's all in the description below. Cool. Sales pitch over. Always got to include those, right? What is genuine, right? They are the best way to learn. But if not, just stick to my videos. There's fucking plenty of them. All right, cool. Love you guys. Best of luck. Get to practicing. Bye.